As some of you guys probably already know, recently I've been on a narrow gauge kick. After the completion of Smudger, I just really didn't want to stop. I worked on a bit of rolling stock, kept making layouts for them, but there was one thing missing. As much as I love Smudger, he is a rough rider, so I thought it'd be fun to have a locomotive who actually treats the rails right. I guess more a locomotive who appreciates the rails. And who better for the job than the Skarloey Railway's own Rusty. And that's who we're going to talk about today, specifically his Bachmann model. Now, as some of you all may know, the first video I ever posted actually features a Bachmann Rusty. However, that same Bachmann Rusty is one that is no longer in my collection. Not because I sold it or anything, just because it fell off of my shelf one day, and since then I've wanted to replace him. I just never really got around to doing it, but thankfully that would all change. And as of now, I actually have 2 Rusties in the mail, but only one has arrived so far, and I have some plans for the other one. So for now, let's go ahead and take a look at the one that I do have. Also, huge shout out to my friend Penguin for sending this guy my way. Without him, this review would not be possible, so consider giving him a follow on Twitter. And with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and take a look at this guy. Jeez, he's so much smaller than you think he's going to be, especially when he arrives. Let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. Wow. You know, as a whole, I have to say I'm a big fan of this model. I know a lot of people don't like that his cab here is blacked out, but if I'm honest, it's understandable as to why it is. It's basically the same case as the real narrow gauge engines. There was just a motor there, so it just looks better that way. And really, it doesn't upset me much. There's so much little detail that they were able to capture on this little guy, and I am a huge fan of him. The only thing I can say that I don't like, really, is the face. I mean, it's just not very, rusty looking. But other than that, they've got everything else pretty perfect. He's got all of this minute detail that you wouldn't expect them to have put there, but it is there and it looks amazing. His chassis is very well detailed. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this guy. But as you can see, he is not perfect by any means. This face has got to go. And you guys know how I feel about the gloss of models, so let's go ahead and work on this guy. All right, let's see here. Got him on a nice piece of soft cloth here. Let's go ahead and try to separate this face here. The faces are never held on very tightly, so taking them off is pretty easy, but I don't want to mess it up or mess up anything on Rusty. So there we go. And as you can see here, we now have a clean front to the engine. Now the 2 faces, as you can see here, are basically the exact same size, so got a little bit of blue tack on this one. Let's go ahead and see how it fits. Yeah, I like that a lot more than I like the other one. That quickly, this Rusty became 10 out of 10. Now, looking at Bachmann's Rusty model a bit more objectively, there are a couple issues that I would like to address. While I am happy that Rusty has a back lamp, it is molded on the back, which makes replacing it or swapping it out for a more accurate one basically impossible, unless you want to file it away and repaint the entire loco, which is something that I'm personally not interested in doing as of now, not until I start that other project. But to give them credit where credit is due, the tail lamp that Rusty has isn't necessarily bad looking. I just would have liked to have the option to put one that's a bit more realistic on him, so maybe I'm just being a bit picky. There's a very distinct part of Rusty's model under his face, which is this little cave-in area here, and the Bachmann model actually features that. And taking a look at all of the details present on Rusty, Bachmann was really paying attention to what they were doing. And while I do have my minor gripes, I too really appreciate this model and the effort they put into making it. Now with his face replaced, all he needs is a front lamp and to be weathered up a little bit, but the actual weather around here has been pretty on and off lately, so unfortunately I haven't had the chance to do that yet. But when I do, I will record it and make it its own video and show you guys exactly how I do it. I actually have a couple of ideas for that video, so be on the lookout for that. For now though, let's go ahead and take a look at how my little dude runs. Hopefully a little better than someone else I know. So to wrap up my review of Rusty, if you're going into narrow gauge or in scale at all, this locomotive is probably one of my most highly recommended. Not only does he run well and look amazing, but with very easy modifications, you can make this model look TVS accurate, and expect a video on how I exactly plan to do that soon. If I had to rate this model fresh out of box, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. The only thing knocking off those few points are the molded details and the face, which is something that Bachmann is notorious for getting wrong. But it wouldn't be a proper review if I didn't tell you what was remiss, and in my opinion, that's probably the biggest thing. And it's such an easy fix. So if you ever have the chance to get your hands on a Bachmann Rusty model, I personally think you should. He normally averages out for about $90 to $100, and that's alright. For the engine being so small and having this much detail, that's pretty understandable, but I wouldn't recommend going too crazy far over that. If you see one posted for $150 over, definitely don't do it. But if you're like me and want to start or continue your adventures into narrow gauge, this loco may be just what you're looking for, and hopefully you guys enjoyed taking a look at him. As always, thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.